Today's INT, and it's June 24, and it's at 4 p.m. Please call the roll.
Chairperson Wani Garza.
Here.
Vice Chair Ted Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman John Lash.
Here.
Alderman Emmanuel Llamas. Alderman Brandon Tolliver.
Here.
4 present.
Okay. Approval the minutes for 24-0459 from June 10.
So moved. Second.
Motion Alderman Tolliver, second Alderman John Lash. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. We have public comments.
No, we do not.
Okay. Can you please read the first item in the agenda?
Item 24-0424, a resolution authorizing the purchase of computer equipment from Insight Public Sector, Inc. and Zell, Inc. in a total aggregate amount not to exceed $350,000.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman.
Good afternoon.
Jeff Anderson, the Deputy CIO. The resolution before you here has become our kind of annual ask for expenditures for PCs, laptops, replacements, et cetera. The change we've made this year is, and in previous years, we've gone direct to Dell for most things, and we're buying sort of one-offs elsewhere, and what we've seen is we're getting enough of those other kinds of devices where people want iOS devices or iPads or those things. Let's look for one vendor that can get us all of these at the same price. All of these are on a state contract anyway. We found Insight that can get all the devices for us, all on a state contract. That's what we're doing here.
Same price. Great.
Yeah, everything's on a state contract, so there's no reason to go to multiple
Yeah.
vendors, go to each manufacturer to get the
Questions,
same thing.
comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion approved by John Lash, second Alderman Tolliver. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. Next item.
Item 24-0433, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to accept proposals from Alarm Detection Systems, ADS, National Technologies, Inc., NTI, and Scientel Solutions, Inc., totaling $952,690.45 for IT and security infrastructure at the new Public Works Combined Maintenance Facility.
Good afternoon. Ian Wade here with engineering. So the way we were going to do this is I'll just kind of introduce the overall item, give kind of a general update on the overall project budget, and then I'll speak to the one piece that I was directly involved with, and that was the alarm detection systems. Basically, we grouped all these together because they are all related to technology type systems, most of which we have existing contracts with these vendors for the same technology in other buildings throughout the city, which is the case with ADS. They monitor our alarms throughout all of our buildings in the city, and therefore, obviously, we wanted to stick with the same system in our new facility to allow us to monitor all facilities from a single vendor. So in terms of the overall project, there was some question about where we stand overall on the project. We are getting down to our last few contracts here. This was the IT piece that we knew that we needed. We did lean on IT for a fair amount of this, as they work with a lot of these folks quite a bit. So we weren't sure exactly what this would all end up when we'd spoken to you previously, but this should be our IT package, the loan IT package that we need as part of the Public Works facility. We did build in a 15% contingency just because we anticipate there probably will be a few additions and tweaks to the systems they're proposing. So we just built that in there just in case. Obviously, if we don't have to spend that, that'll just go back into the overall project budget. Speaking in terms of the overall, I won't go down that road too much, but just to give the committee an overall update. Aside from this, we really envision one major package still to come that we had spoken about before, and that's known as the FF&E item. That's fixtures, furniture, and equipment. We were actually hoping to bring that forward at this meeting as well to kind of close out the remainder of the resolution-based spending for this project. However, we are still waiting on the final proposal from the furniture vendor. So we anticipate that'll probably come your way, probably at the next round of meeting, not at the next round of meetings, but probably in about a month. So that'll include the furniture as well as some other equipment that we'll be looking to purchase as part of that overall FF&E purchase. Including what we roughly estimate for that and this, we are still tracking to come in under the budget that we have budgeted for this project. So we are still pleased that to see that we won't need to be coming back and increasing any project budgets. And I did say that, you know, these will be the last remaining major purchases. However, we will still be looking to carry over some of those remaining funds because we do anticipate that while there aren't any major planned additional purchases, there will likely be some additional equipment that ends up turning out needing to be purchased. Things like equipment that we had penciled in to be moved and relocated and reused at the new facility, but then we find out either it broke while trying to move it, or it wasn't compatible for one reason or another. So we do expect that there probably will be some more relatively minor equipment purchases done once the move-in happens early next year. But aside from that, this IT package and then that FF&E item that I mentioned coming in about a month should be about it. So with that, I'll turn it over to IT. They can speak a little bit more on some of these other items. As I said, I was directly involved with alarm detection systems. We did involve the Aurora Police Department in making sure that the burglar alarm locations, zoning of the building, and interior and exterior camera locations and card access were all approved by the PD. So they all did give direct input to ensure that our facility is compliant in terms of security. So I'll be around to answer questions on the back end, but with this, I'll turn it over to IT.
Thank you.
Jeff Anderson, Deputy CIO again. We have just a brief presentation here. I think, John, you can be able to flip that forward for me. Yeah, and just quickly here, you can see what we're trying to show here. This is the network heat map of the building. So what we've done is determined now once the building's all been decided where the walls are going to be, what they're going to be constructed of, all those kinds of things, you can start to come back and say where do access points need to be? How can we provide blanket coverage of Wi-Fi throughout the building now that we know what it's actually going to be? So that's what the heat map example here has shown. And then we'll jump on to video cameras here as well. And as Ian said, you know, these were all determined by walkthroughs by the Aurora Police Department, where cameras needed to be, what they needed to be aimed at, those kinds of things. And it's all coming in through the existing city's preventive maintenance support system for this. So there's that and the cost for those cameras. So John, if you can jump ahead there for me. And then the last thing here that's included as part of what we'll call the IT package here is the access controls. So just like we have in most other buildings, you know, your larger sections, if you will, are blocked off, or your more secure sections are blocked off with access controls. There are going to be a few inside of an area like we have over in IT over here that are still key-based, like an individual office, those kinds of things. But things like a server room and those other things are going to have access control, so you know who accessed those areas. So again, that walkthrough was done with IT and the police department as well. And so now you've got an overall total here for all the vendors. And it makes sense to bring this all together, as Ian stated, as one, to bring it together as a package that's fully understood of what we're doing here, and not just somebody who's bringing cabling or bringing Wi-Fi, et cetera. It's all here as one, and there's the overall cost of the solution. And then I think there were some specific questions about the fiber. I'll just cover that. Fiber was brought to the location over the course of the last 2 years. Think of that as the water main's been delivered. Now that the building is there, we all know what it is, what it's going to be. We're now going to put the individual piping throughout the building for where we want the water faucets and the sinks and all of those kinds of things. That's what we're doing here with the fiber. So, and you'll see in the attachment that some is fiber, some is copper. There's a physical limitation for as long as you can stretch copper out. It's like 320 feet. Anything longer than that, we make it a fiber run because that'll run longer. So with a building that large and a campus that big, that's why you'll see the differences between the two different kinds of connectivity there, whether it's fiber or copper.
Questions, comments? Sure. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a quick question for Mr. Wade, but since you're up here, I'll ask yours. Well, I'll go with yours. It's the easy one. Bringing equipment over, is the gantry crane one of the pieces that we plan to bring over? That, because I'm thinking about like what could be.
I don't believe so. I believe. Yeah, they're custom for the space, so yeah, the crane is not among
So
them.
does our new building have one to pull the,
Yeah, I believe there's one and there's a space for an eventual second, is that correct, Ken? Yes, so
Okay.
that'll have one, yes.
okay. So that's pretty much all we can expect is just for additional equipment is stuff that doesn't transition over.
Correct. Even things as small as, relatively small pieces of equipment that maybe we thought were still operable but don't survive the move type of things might need to be repurchased. But during the preliminary design phase of this project, the designers met with each of the individual divisions and went through their existing facilities and inventoried, I should say, all of the existing equipment and determined as much as possible that could be reused. So we definitely did our best to reuse as much as we could.
Sure. And then the majority of my questions, the question was kind of why on this, with the whole Scientel and ADS, we have two different contracts with two different companies to perform different scopes of work. And why not just have that in two different packages to present? Because I mean, we're also voting next on landscaping, which is it's for the same facility, but it's a third entity.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff Anderson. Again, I'll introduce Tim Kopaz is here too. He's the IT project manager who went through on all of these walkthroughs, every one of them, whether it's PD or whatever. And Jolene's back here. Jolene helped us get all the way through, get all this lined up. So the director of purchasing as well. We just believed it made more sense to bring it all. And we've done this to bring it all as one component. We did this when we redid the fifth floor, when we brought everything together. We didn't bring the cabling and then the AV folks and et cetera. We did very similar things down here as well when the timing was right to say, here's this package that's going to bring, microphones or whatever it was to the dais, microphones, cameras, and the screens you're looking at as well, as opposed to bringing separate ones for separate vendors. That just here's the solution, here's the overall cost of the solution, and you have multiple vendors partaking in that solution.
Okay. I don't, in the future, I'd definitely like to see it separated, and that's my take on it.
Okay, more questions?
Madam Chair, I'm gonna tend to lean with the Alderman at large here. Your project here at the city was smaller, much smaller in scope, and as opposed to this is a larger project. There's a multi-million-dollar project over there, way bigger. Way bigger. My question is, why didn't we take a few of these items and go out to bid for them?
Well, back up, the Scientel items were out to bid. We have a contract with those. Those were both competitively bid.
Building, alarm, fire alarm, access controls.
So, I'll let you answer this if I'm not close enough on this. My understanding is we've used ADS as a standard building alarm solution for all the city buildings. So the desire was to keep that all the same so that everything operates the same between all the buildings.
Okay, but what about the door controls?
So the access control solution, all of that feeds into the video, and the door access solution feeds back into the same Genetec management system. So the video and the access of all of that feeds into the same solution. It made sense to stay with the same vendor for that, as opposed to getting another vendor who's going to come in and have to understand exactly what's been built previously over the last 4 years of the contract of managing that Genetec solution.
What is it, I mean, help me out. What is it they need to figure? Because we have an architect, I mean, this is where I'm coming from. We have an architect on the job, right? With consultants. They're getting paid a very,
Right.
say, healthy, they're compensated very well, practically for full services. We have a construction manager on the project, right, as well. Explain to me, again, how we approach this. Why are we taking them out of the equation?
Why are we taking them? I don't think we did take them out of the equation here on this case.
Well, I guess the construction.
If any, then, how's
Sorry.
that?
I can say the construction manager's involvement was typically more with contractor services, purchasing and contractor services, as opposed to technological consulting. I probably shouldn't go
Yeah,
down the
but
rabbit hole. in
don't
terms
they
of
have
the-
to pay or classify things for prevailing wage as well? They're contractors at the end of the day.
Yeah, and they do, and NTI and Scientel provide prevailing wage documentation for the components of it that are necessary. And those are generally I'll just broad brush it here, kind of the in-the-field kinds of things, right? The design work and development of those things are generally not.
Because our
Really
project
raised.
here, I mean, going with your analogy and
Sure.
your approach, you know, here when we did the city, we did it with our own project manager, or with our own team. Mr. Birchall was in charge for a lot of this stuff here in this.
Well, he
in this
went through
building.
Passion, went through a general contractor
Okay,
who,
all right.
who brought in various different components, and
Through our
a lot
job
of the things you're
program.
looking at here was another specific AV vendor as well that
So,
did those things,
okay,
right?
so why
We brought in another vendor actually it was in that case, it was Seintel to do the access points you can see on the ceiling.
Okay.
Right, brought in for their specific things, to do their specific
Right, so we had.
subcontracted jobs.
We had a city component and a contractor component, just like we have on this bigger project. We have a
Correct.
city component and a contractor component. Why we're
Correct.
not, but everything else is going out for bid. Why aren't some of these some of these items, because it goes back to what the Alderman said, why aren't we separating some of these things that we can take out and go out to bid?
So, and again, I'll answer that with the NTI fiber contract. That's bid every year through Kane County. We piggyback off of their contract, so that component was bid, right? The two Seintel components that are on here, along with video cameras and the other component they provided here is around the network access points. Those were also competitively bid, right? And those were awarded in 2021. And so we've used those, so that's 3 of the 4. And so the other one was the ADS, which has been a standard at the city for longer than almost all of us have been here, as far as using that for an alarm detection system. So the decision at that point was to continue to do, I mean, you've been involved in that more than I have, but continue to use that same vendor.
Well, I tend to lean more, I would love to see this separated out. Some of these contracts could have been on this docket and this agenda. I would love to see them separated as well, instead of being bulked in.
If,
I'm
Yes, sir.
finished, I'm through, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
just a quick question for you, Jeff, and maybe for legal also. And I don't know how the rest of the committee feels about it, but how difficult would it be to, if I was to make a motion to divide and separate these two into 2 agenda items for Cal, would that be too difficult?
Yeah.
And I would, if legal could weigh in as far as what that motion would look like, because I don't want to.
Deb Lang on behalf of legal. You'd have to have a motion and then a second, and if it is granted to separate the items out, we would have to get a new Legistar number, so someone from staff would have to enter that into Legistar, so we have something for the clerk's office.
Would it have to happen at this level, or could we do that at Cal?
I think we would need it at this level.
And what if I was to make the motion at Cal?
To get it to,
Right,
you'd
right.
have to.
It would stop there and come back to committee, or would it?
Yeah, I think it can go directly to Cal, but we would need, if the motion's done today, we would need to get that entered into Legistar, so it appears on, it'd probably go direct to Cal. We could do that on the agenda item, but it would have to have its separate number if they're broken up.
Okay. And how much work, back to Jeff, if it's okay, how much work am I asking?
Well, I mean, the work behind this, I don't know, the
I mean,
state
there's two, as I look at it,
I-
there's
I-
2 different contracts, one for NTI, one at Seintel proposal and NTI proposal.
There's actually 4 involved in
Okay.
here, right? So there's Seintel contract, again, all competitively bid, Seintel contract for AV components, right, the cameras and whatnot, right, the CCTV components. There's a Seintel contract for the network components. There's an NTI contract for fiber and other connectivity at the campus, and then there's the ADS arrangement that we had. So there's actually 4 different vendors, 4 different arrangements there.
Okay.
So not just 2.
Well, I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. I mean, weigh in. I'm not here to create an intense amount of work. I just feel like it should be separate into different contracts, so.
Madam Chair, just if I could say something really quick. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's my construction background or my project management background, but I don't see a problem with this being presented the way that it is. I mean, all these systems are related, from the fiber to all the security. So I mean, I guess maybe I'm trying to follow along like what the need for the separation is. And again, maybe it's because I look at this stuff every day, so I'm just not really seeing what the reasoning behind it would be. That's just my thoughts on it.
Well, one, I don't think I've never seen anything to this magnitude. I mean, if we were just approving a dollar amount, but we're approving a dollar amount with a specific contract to perform a certain scope of work. So to me, it's 4 different, or, you know, I can see tying in the NTI, because we typically do those 2 separate, right? Typically, we put cameras up, and then there's a fiber optics there where we bring in the fiber, which usually is much higher.
Those usually come together if it's the new location. We usually bring those together. There's a fiber component and there's cameras there. A lot of what you've seen recently have been more cellular related, the LPR kinds of things we brought to the table. I mean, I think the division we're asking for, we're going to get to the same result, but the division we're asking for is having a different resolution for the copper piping to the bathroom sink and a resolution for the bathroom sink. That's what we're asking for, because we've got potentially a different supplier for the copper piping versus the sink, and we're just trying to bring one solution together.
That's not accurate, the way you said. When we did the downtown Broadway bid, that was different. We had a separate contract for the fiber than we did for the cameras and the install. I'm pretty sure of it.
Depends on whether or not the fiber was brought as part of a build out to the ring on an annual basis, right? If it's brought to a specific location, like again, what we've done here, we brought fiber, over the last 2 years before we got concrete and asphalt in the parking lot in there, we brought fiber to the campus
Right.
to get it there and get it underneath all of that, right? And now we're coming back and saying, now that we know what the building is, let's build everything around it.
Can we, I think maybe our legal counsel, I mean, based on what Alderman Lash said and what legal counsel said, maybe we just move it forward until legal can work out something, how to separate it based on the request of Alderman Lash. If there is, we can make a motion at Cal. I mean, is that an option? Can legal weigh in on that? And by then, you could figure out how Alderman Lash can separate what he wants to be separated.
I think if there's a motion here, then we would be directed to that. Otherwise, this would go as 4 items to COW. I would think if you want them separated out, this is probably the location to do it before it gets to COW.
So it would be separated, he would make a motion to separate it into, you said 2, but I think 4. Now it's 4 based on some feedback you received from Mr. Anderson. So you want to separate into 4.
And then for legal, is that just a motion to separate this into 4 separate contracts with the 4 separate vendors to remain at this level?
Yes, you can make that motion.
I'll make it. I don't know if anybody will second it and get the votes, but I'd like to move to amend agenda item 24-0433 to separate this contract into 4 different contracts with the 4 different vendors that we're using to complete the IT and security portion of this project.
And just to clarify, it would be 4 separate resolution items for the contract. Is that what you're asking for?
Correct. Do you need me to restate that? Or is the motion clear?
Yeah.
So say it.
If you can restate resolution for 4 separate contracts, or 4 resolutions for 4 separate contracts.
There'd be 2 for Scientel, 1 for NTI, and 1 for ADS.
2 for Scientel?
That's what Mr. Anderson said.
I'd like to move to amend agenda item 24-0433 to turn this into 4 separate resolution items for 4 separate contracts to complete the work for the security and infrastructure at the new Public Works facility.
Okay. There's a second.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All right, so motion by John Lash to separate this item in a four different, and this resolution to make it in 4 different contracts. And second by Alderman Ted Mesiacos. Motion?
Yes. Wait.
Okay. Taliber?
Call the roll. No, vote for me.
No?
What do you want to?
Did you call?
Yeah,
the
but
vote?
he already make the motion in his second, so, okay.
Call the vote?
Call the vote now? Yeah, okay. Jan? H?
Yes.
Ted Mesiacos?
Yes.
Taliber?
No.
And myself, no. So,
I think it fails, right?
because we want to have the same results. We want to have the same results if we separate.
I believe the motion, it would be denied then if it's 2-2.
Okay,
So this is gonna go for, if it is voted to be passed on, this will go to Cow as one resolution.
okay, so they go like this because it's not go through, okay. We're gonna go the same way to committee of the whole, and committee of the whole probably will have a different discussion for this item. For now,
I'll make a
They wanna go
motion
like
to
this.
put it forward for a vote, Madam Chair. Make a motion to put it forward for a vote. to-
right now,
Yes,
okay,
as is.
okay.
Second.
All right, so I have motion by Ted Mesiacos to go like this, and second by Alderman Toliver. Motion pass?
Take a
Vote.
roll call vote,
Jan?
please.
No.
Ted? Yes.
Present.
Yes.
Yes.
Toliver?
Yes.
Yes? Yes, myself.
Motion passes.
Okay, motion pass. Gonna go like this for committee of the whole?
Thank you.
Okay. Next item.
Item 24-0435, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to award a contract to Semperfi Landscaping, Inc. in the amount of $227,650 for Phase 2 of landscape plantings at the new Public Works Combined Maintenance Facility.
Good afternoon again, Ian Wade, Public Works, Engineering. So this was technically our second phase of landscape plantings, as was explained in the memorandum. We attempted to bid out the landscaping for the entire site last summer. However, we received 3 bids. They were all pretty high, and only one of them met the city's apprenticeship training requirements. So we actually revised the scope a bit and threw those out and went back out to bid with this time around. Unfortunately, we only received 2 bids this time, and they were 2 of the 3 that had bid last time. However, the majority of the unit prices and then subsequently the overall price provided by the lone vendor that did meet the city's apprenticeship training requirements, Semperfi, did come down. As stated in the memorandum, it's not quite evident by looking by comparing the straight up bid tabulations, because we did tweak the quantities a little bit, but when applying the new unit rates provided by Semperfi to the quantities asked for originally, they actually did come down in price $31,500 from that first round scope. So it was fruitful to throw them out and rebid that, so we're happy about that. And we're looking to move forward with getting these plantings going probably this fall as one of the final touches on the new facility. So I'll answer any questions.
Okay. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have an arborist on staff? Just curious.
We do.
Okay. I guess as I look at this, some of this is, I understand the prevailing wage side, and I'm not opposed to how this came out, but I've been watching the amount of money that we subcontract out for maintaining a variety of issues, and I'm wondering if we couldn't do a lot of this in-house.
So-
Have we looked at those costs?
So one thing that differentiated this from a lot of those maintenance contracts and what made us obligated to meet the city's apprenticeship training is that this is considered new construction.
Right.
So, whereas other contractors, including some of those other bidders that were a little bit lower, they did not meet those requirements, so therefore we had to go a Semper Fi on this one.
I understand. I won't be opposing this. I'm just curious if we could look at the cost of doing things like this in-house. It's pretty healthy.
So maintenance,
With
certainly.
with the new construction requirement, if we wanted to, could we?
I would imagine that could be something we could look at.
Okay.
You know, it's a pretty large scale amount of plantings. It's quite a
Sure.
few. So it would have probably been still a pretty substantial cost to just purchase all the materials. So we did not run the numbers to see if, you know, taking the labor out and doing it in-house would have been beneficial. But obviously our staff has got plenty of other maintenance activities as well.
No further questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So the majority of planting then is in the new construction, that's what you said, right?
Yeah, so since these are brand-new plantings, this was just a farm field prior to us building this facility. Since all these plantings are new, this is considered new construction, which then
Okay.
needs to meet those apprenticeship training requirements contractually.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by John Lesh,
Second.
second Alderman Tolivers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion
you.
pass. 4-0. Next item.
Item 24-0440, a resolution to award a contract to the municipal well and pump for the Well 105 shallow well drilling project in the amount of $712,000.00.
Good afternoon, Bob Lively, Superintendent of the Water Production Division. So this project is to replace a previous well that the Water Production Division used for source water, Well 103. It had a problem that was discovered, and it had collapsed subsurface, and we couldn't redeem that well through any kind of repair or anything like that. So we went to design for a new replacement well. It's numbered Well 105. CMT, Crawford Murphy and Tilly, previously had done all the design and planning for it. We went out to bid for that just recently, and we had 2 bids come through. This was actually a rebid. The original bids were rejected due to high pricing. The rebids came in at, low bid was municipal at base bid of $505,885. The other bid was $879,957 from Lane Christensen, and the engineer's estimate of probable construction cost was $546,600. So we are recommending to move forward with awarding this bid to Municipal Well for the stated price.
Questions, comments?
Thank you. It's good. I don't have a problem with the agenda item. I'm curious, overall, how are we situated with the changing of the dams and removal of the dams to supply the city with fresh water? Have we looked at that yet?
Yeah, well, that's a little bit out of my purview.
Okay.
I know, and Ken might be able to chime in on that. I know the city has had meetings, as of all of the other communities up and down the river. And I think it's going to be an individual decision on one of those communities remove those dams or not.
I think my question, let me rephrase my question to keep it on this agenda item, is how many more wells might we be looking to do something similar to, or do we need to?
Any wells that we would add would have nothing to do with dams on the river.
Thank you.
More questions?
So moved.
Okay, motion Alderman Lash,
Second.
second Alderman Tolliver. All in favor say aye. Okay, motion pass 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 24-0445, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Schroeder Asphalt Services, Inc. in the amount of $2,314,894.95 for the 2024 citywide right-of-way maintenance project.
Good afternoon, Jason Bauer with the Department of Public Works. So this is what we commonly call our contract 2. This list is generated from calls from residents for sidewalks, or the road is poor, but it's not ready to be resurfaced. So we develop a list from, basically we'll be starting now for 2025's list, but anything that we've gotten up until this point over the last year generates this list. So this is all our patching, pavement maintenance, sidewalk replacements, things of that nature, smaller things that aren't like the full resurfacing of the roadway. Schroeder has done similar work for us in the past. We've been happy with the results, and the prices were good. They came in line with the estimate. So we're looking to move forward and get this moving.
Okay. I had a question. When they replace pieces of sidewalk, I had some complaints because it's a brand new, but it's very uneven, not compared with the sidewalk, the old sidewalk, what they have. Is normal to leave it like that?
No, it's definitely
Like
not
a little
normal.
bit high, like 3 or 4 inches high sometimes?
No, usually that's what we're coming in to fix, is to take care of those.
So
exact
at that
problems. So,
point, the customer, the resident can call and they
Definitely.
remove and replace it?
yeah, definitely. If there's something like that, then we would go out and take a look and have the contractor redo it if they did something incorrectly, for sure.
Yeah, because I have one in Anderson, just remove the tree and they remove 2 pieces of sidewalk. And yeah, I go and take a look. Yeah, it's higher than the normal level of the sidewalk.
Okay. Yeah, if you get me those,
I
give me that
give you the
address, we can
details.
definitely look
Okay.
into it.
Perfect. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Are ward programs also included in this project list?
Yes, specifically, there's one on North Street in Ward 3 that is
Okay,
part of this
'cause
contract.
I'm looking on here and I couldn't find it. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it should be in the exhibits, I believe, that were attached. I'm not sure if they were attached or not, but that is
Okay.
part of this project.
Okay, all right.
We'll be coming forward for another piece of that one possibly, for storm sewer installation. We're not sure if that will, that might be low enough that we might have to, or we might be able to do an informal bid for that one, but we might have to come back for that piece of that, which has to happen before the new curb goes
All right,
in.
thank you.
Yes, Jan?
I think my questions were more in line with Alderwoman Galarza's, although she was asking about post-construction, but pre-construction. How do we adopt the list? Is it just compilation over time, or if there is something?
We get calls almost nonstop. Yeah, we get, and that's what generates the list. We go out and take a look at it. If there's something that's an immediate hazard, we try and replace them right away. But anything that's less than our threshold, it probably is gonna get to that threshold at some point, so we try to get those on the following year's list.
Okay. And then with respect to right-of-way, is this, I didn't read all 131.
Sure.
I did look at some of the pretty pictures to see where this was happening, but it looks like it's coordinated with the state as well. What about tax dollars to cover that?
Well, we have the different accounts listed.
Right.
There's no MFT funds in this one. These are all, looking at the funding sources, it's mostly general fund. Ward 3 and Ward 9 also did contribute funds. And then we have there's long-term control plan in here as well for a couple $1,000s. And then the municipal motor fuel tax is in here as well, to the tune of $670,000.
Okay.
That's not the state motor fuel tax though, that's the city's.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by John Lash.
Second.
Second, Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 4-0. Thank you. No other item in this agenda?
Motion adjourned?
Motion adjourned by Alderman John Lash. Second, Alderman Ted Misiakos. All in favor, say aye. Okay. Adjourn the meeting at 4:29? Yeah. 4:40. No, 4:40, yeah. Thank you.